61A Lecture Number 9. Announcements. Midterm 1 scores have been released. You can ask us to regrade questions on Gradescope, but please do not ask us to regrade every question. Instead, look over your exam, look at the rubrics, identify places where the rubric was applied incorrectly, and then we encourage you to submit a regrade request because we would very much like to make sure that everybody was graded correctly. However, we will not change the rubrics at this point, and so if you don't like the way we scored the exam, that's not a good reason to submit a regrade request. If your answer is right, but it's not an answer that we thought of, you should get credit for those. A good way to approach this process is to look over your exam and then come into discussion section and talk to your TA there and see what they think, and then maybe submit a regrade request. The exam and a solution are posted, as well as a set of walkthrough videos that show you how to approach each problem. It might be the case that looking at this exam again is the last thing in the world you want to do, but it turns out that reviewing exams you've taken is actually quite a good way to learn, and so I would encourage you to go over the parts that you didn't get and try to understand them now. That will set you up well for the rest of the course. A word about the scores is that they matter, but not much, because midterm 1 is only 30 points, and some of those points you might be able to get back on future exams just by demonstrating that you've learned the concept by the end of the course. I know that we haven't released the precise details of the recovery policy, and I'm sure that's frustrating, but the goal of the policy is to make sure that if students learn things eventually, they get a good score in the course. This exam is not like other exams where you need to get 90% of the points in order to feel good about your score. Instead, every point that you get on a CS61A exam means that you learned something, and scores in the general neighborhood of the median of 22 out of 30 mean that you're progressing just fine in the course. And a lower score, around 15 out of 30, actually is not a crisis. It does indicate that there are some things that you still need to master, but you have plenty of time to do that, and there have certainly been students in the past who have scored about half the points on midterm 1 and done very well in the course by the end. Scores around 5 out of 30 are an indication that you have quite a bit of catching up to do at this point, which is certainly possible, but you need to come up with a strategy soon for how you're going to change the way you're studying the material so that you can understand it well enough to improve your scores on future exams, and then you can do well in the course. We've extended the deadline to pick a section, lab and discussion, to this Friday. It was originally going to be today, but we thought we'd give you a couple of extra days to think about which section you want to be in. You could shop around on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday of this week and try out different sections if you want. There are some that have available capacity that are regular sections, and we also still have the mega section, and you're welcome to switch either way. Remember that in a regular section, attendance will be required throughout the course of the semester. In the mega section, it is not. But regular section is a great way to spend time on the course understanding the material, whereas in mega section, you're going to have to figure out how to do that, even without a regular attendance requirement. Okay, today we're going to introduce a topic called recursion. It's really one of the fun things that we focus on in CS61A. It does take some practice to learn how to use it, and that's okay. But it's often the case that students who hear today's lecture and Friday's lecture feel like now they can solve a whole new class of problems through programming that they didn't know how to solve before.